Why did I do this? I have had an idea. For Christmas this year, me and my brother T, one of the funny milk fact makers, and ever-sportive Chad, decided to do a miniature swap. We both agreed to build and paint our models creatively with no real rules. I received Mark II Horus Heresy Iron Warriors, and he received a Big Mech with teleporting gun. This video documents my work process and decisions on the model, and I guess could act as a guide if you wanted your own Fazmarines at Freddies. Chapter 2. First thoughts and ideas. Deciding what to do for these miniatures was the second hardest part of the process. Silly or serious, dark or bright, 1 pint or 2. My Iron Warriors all had basic bolters, but T provided me with a few 3D printed heavy weapons, shoulder pads, and extra bits. And so I thought, are anime girls real? Are ducks real? What flavour is blue? What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? Why do I keep seeing vivid images of angry men on horses? What's this knobbly bit on the end of my... Always a bad idea for me. Simple is best. Helldivers. A squad of Helldivers with support weapons and maybe stratagem servo skulls? 5 was more than 4 though, and I felt adding General Brash would be as awesome as it is difficult to get his sheer lore-accurate strength in. My next idea was... and my final idea... Chapter 3, The Dready Fazmarines. Going into this, I knew it had to be silly and good. This was it. 5 Marines. A Freddy, BONEy, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Ho-Ho Bear. Each different characters with unique colours, poses, and more. The meme factor was perfect. So I put on the less toreadores and ho-ho-ho-ho'd myself to the desk and got to work. Chapter 4, The Hot Chica. The first model I started working on was Chica. I had a specific idea for how I would create her pose with her holding a cupcake and giving her the bib. I needed an open palmed hand to put a Space Marine head into with a spike on top as the candle, but couldn't find a hand. So I improvised, and here starts the first of many Warhammer atrocities. I dremeled into one of the bolter guns, removed the gun from the left hand, and saved the trigger hand for Freddy's model. I glued her hand to her arm, the hand to the head, and filled gaps in the shoulder joint with Greenstuff, which is a scarily common thread throughout all of these models. Chapter 5. Foxy. Foxy was reasonably tough to pose. I had the goal coming in that Foxy would have a hook and he would be leaning forward, sort of on the march toward the enemy. To get that look, I chose legs making him walk forwards and then had to figure out how to incorporate the gun in somehow. To get the gun in, I cut off the hand from the trigger of the gun and carefully put the gun underneath his left arm. I like the look of it, sort of carefully and temporarily put away, so Foxy can rip and tear with his hook. Chapter 6. BONEy. BONEy was the easiest to make, but the hardest to decide what to do with. I wanted to give him a cool, scummy look inspired by an animation, link below, that I absolutely adore. Hunched over, holding a heavy weapon or guitar, and just sleazy. I struggled to get the pose right and ended up with a very generic looking model. I'm a bit disappointed in how he turned out, to be honest. You may have noticed they don't have heads yet. More on that later. Chapter 7. Freddy Faznuts. Freddy was also quite simple. I decided early on whilst making Chica that I would have Freddy holding a microphone-y, grenade-y thingy to give him the look of being on a stage or mid-throwing a grenade stick. Because of this, he's the only model to not receive a gun. Otherwise, the posing was simple with a lightly walking forward style. Chapter 8. Oh my god, why did I try this? Golden Freddy. Where do I start? I wanted the dead and twitching pose that I see in a few gifs. Slack, deadened, leaning against a wall in a back room. Blood oozing from holes and corners. It was a choice I am happy to have made, but the green stuff in joints, custom cutting up of legs and posing of even the knee to get it right. The gun was trimmed with the hand removed, and a spare hand was taken from a much older set of kits to use. Any hand would do, but I just couldn't find a good alternative. I have another idea for Golden Freddy's base in particular, but that is a part for Chapter 9. Bases! I wanted a black and white checkered floor like in an older restaurant and as shown in the games. First, I sanded and scraped away at the top of the bases to try and get a better, flatter surface to put it on. Instead, I was left with scratched and some scuffed parts from my method, but works out alright overall. I want these tiled floors dirty and used, and the lines I painted on aren't perfect, and to be fair, I don't mind it as much as I thought I would. If I had spent more time to get it perfect, I would be happier with it, but it's enjoyable even with a little... imperfection. But for one base in particular, I had another idea. The Freddy Faz wall, which I sculpted bricks for and then put together, all made out of green stuff. Chapter 10, the part where he talks about green stuff and sculpting. The absolute hardest part of this entire process was sorting out the heads. My plan was to sculpt heads for each and every one of the models based on what I thought would look good. The problem there is my skill level is like the Dunning-Kruger effect, about 5% skill to 95% confidence. A welcome to the melted phallic Foxy and the surprisingly okay Chica. Somehow it's actually okay, but I really worked for it to get that level. Chapter 11. The futility of paying someone else to do it for me. I realised quickly I was out of luck. Very out of luck. So I panicked. I looked on the internet and found an Instagram account that actually had like 3 of the models I was making. I contacted them to ask if they had any spare heads or if I could buy any, and they never responded! So, I begged friends for anyone who had a 3D printer and could help me to heed my plea, and then he spoke! Chapter 12. Getting heads. The_Titan_Manufactorium on Cult 3D, by the way. This legend, for quite cheap, helped take care of some basic files, scale them down, and customize posing. Then, he sent 2 of every single head in tight, secure packaging. 10 out of 10. What a legend. Chapter 13. Painting and last-minute ideas. As the bases were already painted, I kept the miniatures separate from them. Base colours, lead belcher for joints, and then washes, and more. I wish I could explain better, and with better video and commentary, but I'm really new, so watch as they magically come together before your very eyes! Chapter 14, the last-minute Golden Freddy extras. Blood and a Ghost Kid poster. Painted on both by hand. They aren't perfect, and neither is the rusting, weathering on Golden Freddy, but honestly, I couldn't be prouder. They're completed. And now to complete the models truly, the handover. Chapter 15, the 5 Marines at Freddy's and a teleporter.
Merry model swap then.
Merry model swap. I need to wait until the right moment to begin making noises.
There's noises to be made. How much tape did you use?
Not much.
You owe me a roller tape.
I don't.
What the Orin, you better not. Oh my fucking god! You rat bastard! I'm going to beat you with a spanner. I gave you these models in good faith, and you made
I made you 5 Marines at Freddy's.
I'm going to beat you to death. Fucking Christ.
You just got But yeah, so you thought it was what were you thinking last minute? Till I began making horror
To be honest,
noises?
when you started making noises, I initially thought it was
Yeah.
I initially thought it was going to be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
No. Chapter 16. A conclusion. Making these models was an experience. I enjoyed it, but I found myself, self-motivating really tough. Self-discipline is tough to come by for me, especially after COVID, but I can do it. I can do this sort of thing, and if I can do it, that means anyone else can. They can work on something that they don't want to work on. They can improve themselves, learn a new skill, make something, be creative. Video editing is a daunting new skill for me that I'm learning. I'm making scripts now. I'm learning to make scripts. This is all from a script. I mean, this part maybe less so. I'm writing well, if not okay. You'll get there. Whatever project you're working on, you just need to go for it. You need to fuck up, you need to learn, you need to try and try again. And at the end of the day, who gives a fuck if you're having fun?